There's a reason education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want.
Government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.
The best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway, from Charlotte, another line going from in Florida down to Tampa of Putin's kleptocracy. Yeah. America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him. The idea that Los Angeles and what am I doing here? For two reasons. One, let's be clear. I hear it all the time. Cumulative, definitely, I can play for the program.
Well, I'm sick and tired of smart guys.
Let me start off with two words. Made in America. Made in America.
Welcome back to another night of Shtick with Koolfrogg. I gotta tell you. Hopefully, everything's okay. I haven't heard back from America Shirts. He fell asleep last night during the show. Hopefully he shows up tonight like he's supposed to and has a better time than he did last. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good show. But, I don't know. I think we should all chant for him and see what happens. See if he actually comes and brings himself in here. Right, Shirts? Shirts. Say hi to everybody real quick. What's up, Boomer? First you are. Axiom, people are retarded. It's amazing how many of them really seriously are just that. Daisy girl, what's up? How you doing? Good to see you. Shizzy Wiznut. What is up, Shizzy Wiznut? And Rose. Hey, Rose. Awesome. Glad you're all here. If you're hanging out over on that Rumble side, hit that thumbs up button. Say something to me, and I'll totally, hold a conversation. There he is. What's up, Shirts?
Conversation with who? Who exactly are you going to have a conversation with?
Anybody that decides to actually show up over on the Rumble side and decides that they want to actually chat with us.
Well, in that case, yeah. Go ahead, have a conversation, chat away.
Them peoples. What's up, Suzanne? Good to see you, dear. Glad you're here. So, I do have America Shirts with me. We were wondering if you were going to show up. I was wondering if you were going to show up, being that I made you fall asleep last night.
Well, there were other reasons for that, but
okay, so it wasn't just me. Good.
No.
All right, perfect.
Bidenomics. Anyway.
Yeah, well, today's not any better. Today we're talking racism. I mean, Supreme Court.
Oh, how Clarence Thomas is the biggest white supremacist there is. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely. A couple other people had some things to actually say, so we'll kind of try covering that as well. The start off the day it started off very rough for them, as everybody was just almost assuming that they weren't actually going to even have hearings today, because grounds had to be evacuated after suspicious package were reported.
Oops. I wonder who sent that. I'm sure it was no one associated with the leftoids in the,
Oh,
in
why would it be-
any place.
Why would it
I
be
would
anything
never.
like Antifa or anything like that?
I've of course not.
What?
Antifa is just an idea. It is not real.
It's not real, right?
However, the white supremacist groups are the biggest problem in the nation. We should be very cautious of the white people.
Rose says, "Was that my lost Amazon package?" Well, let's hope
Oh
that
my
your name
God,
wasn't
don't
on
say
it. Be careful. Be safe, and do as they tell you to do. Don't try resisting. Resisting arrest, it gets you nowhere. You should make a new shirt. Resisting arrest gets you nowhere but dead. There's, because it's pretty much what it is, right? So it says, on Thursday afternoon, police were seen evacuating protesters outside the Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. after a suspicious package was discovered. The U.S. Capitol wrote on Twitter, "We're assisting the Supreme Court and police with a suspicious package out of an abundance of caution. We're also hoping to keep the area clear. We cannot provide further information about another agency's case, but we will keep the community updated about our involvements." Gee, thank you for telling us. I'm so glad that you were there to actually say that you were exercising an abundance of caution.
Yeah. But of course, they probably won't find the person, and if they do,
Right?
it'll be
find
a
the person
Hispanic
that
white
did it?
supremacist. Be another
that-
Colombian white supremacist.
Doubt they found the person that did it. I doubt it. I really do. I don't think any of these videos are really going to show us anything.
Just like the White House told, explicitly instructed that people go and protest and rally craziness outside of Supreme Court justices' houses to intimidate Supreme Court justices back whenever the Roe v. Wade thing came out in February. Subsequently in the summer was then, of course, removed, Roe v. Wade. So, yeah, of course, the Biden administration is not going to do anything about this because they want court intimidation. They want to intimidate the Supreme Court into doing what they want. Period.
So then here's the reasons that they were actually there today. Since the Supreme Court rules against affirmative action in favor of religious liberty. The U.S. Supreme Court on Thursday issued multiple major decisions, including the ruling against using affirmative action in the college admissions process and another unanimous ruling in favor of Christian whose beliefs prevented him from delivering packages on Sundays. The Students of Fair Admissions have filed 2 cases dealing with affirmative action against the University of North Carolina and Harvard. The legal group had argued that the University of North Carolina violated the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause by using race as a consideration in admissions when it is not needed to achieve diversity in its student body. In the case against Harvard, the group argued that the school violated the Civil Rights Act by discriminating against Asian Americans who are less likely to be admitted than white, black, or Hispanic applicants with similar qualifications. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, who served on the Harvard board until recently, recused herself from the case, as she should have.
The 6th member of the Jackson Fund.
Right, as she should have. So she actually did do what she is supposed to do. Now, did she follow through and continue
to free the PEDs?
to recuse herself? We'll
knows?
read on some more to see see if she actually does actually recuse herself any further than just the hearing itself. So this is Chief Justice John Roberts delivered a single majority opinion for both affirmative action cases. Many universities have concluded wrongly that the touchstone in individuals' identity is not challenges bested, skills built, or lessons learned, but the color of their skin. Our constitutional history does not tolerate that choice. Justice Clarence Thomas, who is black, why they have to actually let us know that he's actually black, like if you don't already know. What is up, Tweety US News, and what is up, Go Hagen? Good to see you. Glad you're here. Clarence Thomas, who is black, wrote in a concurrent opinion the affirmative action policies fly in the face of our colorblind constitution and our nation's equality ideal. Equality. He's kind of an intelligent man. It's kind of amazing how intelligent he really is, where he'll actually bring thought and opinion to actually be, something of the truth.
Clarence Thomas, the black face of white supremacy.
Right. They don't like him so much. I wonder why. Justices Atlanta Kagan, Sonia Sotomayor, and Jackson, the court's liberal members dissented
AKA the dumbasses who literally don't know what the hell legal terms even mean. Like Sotomayor is so retarded, pardon my French. She is like mentally dilapidated. Like she doesn't even know. Like the average everyday Joe knows like legal, like certain legal terminology. Like all you have to do is watch some stupid, idiotic crime drama or like court show, and like you'll know all of these terms and what they mean. This numbskull freak, this lip-tarded hack who goes to the Belizean Grove, which is the female version of the Bohemian Grove, or they go to the country of Belize in the Gulf of Mexico, just right outside of Mexico itself, a little south of there. So this freak can't even talk in legal terminology when she's doing a court case. But we have this freakazoid on the Supreme Court. So here we go. And then Ketanji Brown Jackson, whose only accomplishment is making sure that the Pizzagate guy that went into the a pizza parlor place where there was, things and stuff. He gets, locked away for the rest of his life, whatever. And then she goes out and starts letting off all the maps and oh, you poor map. I'm sure you didn't actually mean to do this to children, you poor map. And then she just that's her only claim to fame. And so, so of course, whenever you get rid of the Pizzagate person and you defend maps, then you get put up onto the thing. Charlemagne alligators.
Alligators?
No, alligators.
Ideology's no different
Inside
than
joke.
religion? Sorta.
Legal terminology. I don't know what he's exactly referring to. I mean, like someone's personal belief is it is associated with your religious belief because you personally decide to convert to, say, a religion or whatever. So that is your personal belief to go along with X, Y, and Z thing, right? But if your personal beliefs hold dear, because the whole idea of the First Amendment is the right of conscience. It's essentially what everybody referred to it as at the time. Is what they wrote it as. It was it's the right of conscience. So the right of your conscience can tell you to do things in a very religious fashion, or perhaps your own conscience is well, I mean, I don't really want to affiliate myself with X, Y, and Z thing, but I think that this is evil or this is bad, whatever, or this is a wrong thing. And so I have this sort of set of morals da da. It sort of opens the door. Again, it sort of describes the First Amendment in the free exercise of religion, to the free exercise of, the belief that you would hold. Now, obviously, there is a moral thing here that is objective, where like obviously we can't say like, well, it's my personal belief to like throw you against a wall or something. It's my personal belief to break everybody's nose that I see. Like you can't really do that. Like that's not what I'm saying. But if it is within the grounds of, say, something, like of a Christian morality, which is what we were founded on, because that's also factored in, right? So it's sort of, you can make the legal argument as to say that, like, someone's personal beliefs, in fact, kind of are not only associated with a religious belief, but, in essence, kind of, like, but again, that also only goes to a certain extent. So, like, if you're talking legally, or are you talking just like in general, like a sort of like spiritual or like or like ideological understanding of this or whatever, like just in general, like like in conversation, talking about definitions of words and what you mean them as. I'm not exactly sure what he's
Cohagen says beliefs
I would
are the
assume
point,
that he is
the
talking
meat
about
and
the
potatoes. Beliefs are the point. That's what he's saying.
beliefs are the point.
Beliefs are the point. The meat and potatoes. Believing in something that doesn't exist in his potential thought. It's just that, believing in something that doesn't exist. You want to believe what you want to believe, and you have the right to believe what you want. But at the same time, nobody should be able to tell anybody what to believe. It should always be up to them, and never, ever pushed on our children. Just saying.
Well, right, and I was kind of thinking that he
So-
was like talking about that, like bringing it up because of the thing where it was like, the person was, as you talked about, right, with the case where the Christian did not have to deliver packages on Sundays because it was against his beliefs. I thought that might be what he's referring to in like a legal sense, or like a legal terminology, or like a constitutional like terminology and perspective. I thought maybe that's where he was going with it. I'm not entirely sure exactly what he was trying to like go with things, but
So,
but anyways,
okay, so
enough of that.
Let's just rewind just
Let's
a
get
little
back
bit.
to
We'll
the
go
map
back.
protector, Khadijah Brown Jackson.
Well, it wasn't just her though, because now it says that these three little women went ahead and dissented. It says while Jackson's name was not written in the dissent, the court noted that she only weighed in the considerations dealing with the University of North Carolina case, not the Harvard case. So, again, she actually didn't have anything to do with the Harvard case. So after the court's decision, Edward Blum, Students for Fair Admissions founder and president, said ending racial preferences in college admissions is an outcome that the vast majority of all races and ethnicities will celebrate. A university doesn't have real diversity when it simply assembles students who look different but come from similar backgrounds and act, talk, and think alike.
Oh, how dare you say such a racially insensitive phrase? Oh my God. What? Like, so in essence, this individual is trying to imply, dares to imply that diversity of background and actions and thoughts is more important than how people look and their skin color. How dare you?
Great liquor. Good to see. Good to see. I mean,
How dare you?
Right.
Like all black cis people think alike, right? Wait, my libtard hat is still on, by the way.
It's not. As it's pointing out, that's simply not true. It's simply not true. That it's like It really depends on where you grow up
And they all vote Democrat, right?
who you're
And
around.
they all love Joe Biden.
Yeah, they all.
They all want to line up and get the Fauci ouchie, right? Everybody wants to do like whatever the globalist mantra is. The dumb black people want to do, right? Right? Isn't that what the libtards on the opposing side of all of this think about everybody else? Like, is this not what they believe about all the people in America? Like, it's but specifically referring to like black Americans and Hispanic Americans. Like, this is the most racist crap ever. And they're like, oh, but we're not being racist at all. It's like, you're the most racist people ever. You're not going to like, hang somebody for being of a different ethnicity, but like, holy crap. Like, you like go whack-tard and like, start like going whack-tard racist and like, associating, stereotyping like mad and all this nonsense. And then because like you stereotype things in your head, somebody else says something, and then it's like, oh my God, like these people are insane. Anyways, I could go on.
Go Hagen says, I'll say this. If I could pick my neighbors, I'd pick Christians over Satanists.
That's probably a smart idea.
Further, I'd prefer masses follow Christianity. Why? Because it sounds it's a sound social construct, and I'd rather not live chaos. We're living chaos right now as we speak.
Well, I mean, I've made the argument before, like, Satanism should not be considered like protected religion in the United States, and I've already made mention of that before. Sure. In different respects, because it does not. Christianity is really the only true religion that supports the idea of the liberty of the individual. Like you are, because you are made by God, that you have those individual rights, and only Christianity does support that. However, if you do go along with that same idea, but you're not like, quote unquote Christian or whatever, if you're like an Islamic group or whatever, but you're not like crazy insane, like, let's go jihad on everybody, but you're just like, yeah, we like those ideas. We like to do that kind of thing, whatever. Like, well, okay, like it's fine. But like, you have to respect the rights and liberties of others. But if your religion is, the goal of your religion is to violate everyone's rights. Like, I mean, like you can't exactly, you know what I'm saying? Like Christianity is the only one that really does that. And then there's like some others that, kind of ish, but like Scientology should not be protected. Satanism should not be protected. Wacko cult groups that steal people's money and go insane, like that should not be protected. CIA spawned cult groups should not be protected. Like this is an abuse of the protected religion to abuse people and harm people. And
I want to know about this.
But anyways, that's a whole other.
Right.
Sorry.
You're okay. I want to know about this. So, to finish the article out, it also says that they issued a decision in the favor of religious freedom in the case filed against Gerald Groff, the Christian who wouldn't deliver packages on Sundays because of religious exemptions, felt it wasn't necessary to work on Sundays. I'm kind of with them on that. It's like, hey, if everybody gets to choose and pick, well, we should also have exemptions of our own when it comes to Christian, thoughts and beliefs. So it's under courts of 1977 ruling regarding religious accommodations. An employer needed to show accommodation of religious needs would be an undue hardship on the company. In the new decision, the court held that the law requires an employer that denies a religious accommodation to show that the burden is granting an accommodation would result in substantial increased costs in relation to the conduct of its particular business. The High Court also issued decision on whether U.S. trademark law applies to infringements that occur outside the United States. The justices held that the law only applies domestically. The High Court is still expected to release decisions before the end of the term on the Biden administration's student loan forgiveness program. End of the term comes up within like there should be some stuff coming out again today. I would assume that they would actually hit on the student loan stuff today, as in Friday, for those of you that are in the East Coast, that should be a thing. That should actually be heard and dissented on in itself. Um, so there's this racial preferences on Constitution and college admissions, and of course, every newspaper, seriously, almost everywhere that I went, had anything to do with affirmative action, had their own article to go along with just that. And it really seriously breaks it down. They like to. It depends on where this is Breitbart, so they kind of put him up on a pedestal as opposed to actually being like, oh my God, he's so racist. Racial preferences in college admissions violate the Equal Protection Clause in the Constitution. The Supreme Court decided Thursday in a historic decision with profound implications for racial preferences in many areas of law and public policy. So you can see each side of it kind of writes the story just slightly different from each other. So it's really dependent on where you go to get your answers on the news of whatever's happening. One side will kind of make it sound different than the other. They have the tendency to do that. They have the tendency to do that quite often. So then, racial discrimination in military is kept intact by SCOTUS ruling. So though they went ahead and they did what they had done today and actually, knocked it down, when it comes to the military, they were not actually part of the clause. It says the Supreme Court on Thursday struck down affirmative action in college admissions, declaring race cannot be a factor in forcing institutions of higher education to look for new ways to achieve diverse student bodies. Conservatives and the observers are celebrating the ruling as a win of racial equality in meritocracy. However, the SCOTUS decision keeps intact the U.S. military's ability to racially discriminate. Chief Justice John Roberts made that clear in the footnote in his decision. Roberts noted that SCOTUS was urged to review race-based admissions policies at the country's military academy, but Roberts and his colleagues declined to conduct this review on the grounds that the military academies weren't a party to the case before them. No military academy is a party to these cases, and none of the courts below address the propriety of race-based admission systems in that context. The opinion also does not address the issue in light of potentially distinct interests that military academies may present. Thursday's SCOTUS decision stems from challenges of race-based admissions policies at Harvard and University of North Carolina, the nation's oldest private and public colleges, respectively. Chief Justice John Roberts said that there are too long universities have concluded wrongly that the touchstone of individuals' identity is not challenges bested, skills built, or lessons learned, but the color of their skin. Our constitutional history does not tolerate that choice. So just to kind of reiterate some of the stuff that they actually did say, it really seriously comes down to you shouldn't be able to use race-based ideas or thoughts when it comes to anything, but it seems as though the military is still intact. So they can still actually use race-based agendas to actually, fill quotas, continue to allow mentally unstable transvestites to be able to go into our military systems and also.
Well, if you say someone's a transvestite, then like mentally ill is already assumed. I would say.
There's more of a comma there, the mentally ill and the transvestites. It was kind of really supposed to be two different, just so that people understand that, doesn't matter where your mental inability is.
Right? Doesn't matter like how mentally ill, what the mental illness makes you do.
So then he says Biden blasts Supreme Court as not normal after affirmative action ruling. So Biden gets upset. Of course he does.
Yes, Biden again. Biden. Did we talk about Biden? They found out that the White House had to admit that he's hooked up to a CPAP machine every night because he's pausing breathing that he can't do himself. So they have to get a CPAP machine going for him.
I believe I did actually bring something up because it was the second day in the row that they've actually talked about it.
So Biden being injected with a bunch of stimulants every day, to put it politely,
We don't know that.
to walk out. Oh, the hell we don't. There's
don't
marks
know
in his
that.
freaking hands, from IVs.
I
I think it's pretty
I
obvious.
believe I did bring up an article for that in particular, just because it's a second day in a row of people talking about it is kind of like, well, okay, maybe we will talk about it today. Either way, back on track. Joe Biden went ahead and held a press conference today. It says after it denounced the landmark ruling, the sixth conservative justice restricting affirmative action in college admissions declared that we cannot let the decision be a permanent setback for our country. Joe Biden said the Supreme Court is not a normal court. How is it not a normal court? What makes it so not normal? Because it has a conservative leaning, as opposed to it being, liberal. So that's not normal. It's not normal to actually have free thinking. There's so many questions to go along with his not normal clause.
Well, right. I mean, the whole shtick of him like having to come out and make a statement and stuff. This is what they did the last time with Roe versus Wade, and everybody had to come out and make statements about it. All the politicians, and then the Joe Biden administration with the DOJ tries to hammer and go after people who dare to pray outside of abortion centers, and on top of that, they try to, what did they do after Roe v. Wade? It was like help and support people to get abortions. It was like go after people who, were telling people not to get abortions and things like that. They were going to look really heavy into that stuff. It'd be like send the IRS after them type of thing, right? So because of the Supreme Court's decision to reverse Roe versus Wade, now the entire Christian world must pay. And so you have to do X, Y, and Z. So it's just, so essentially, this is going to probably be, you'll probably find out here after a while that the Biden administration will not uphold this and will not, or at least try not to uphold this and try not to go forward with it. And all of their little Harvard buddies and all the rest of that will try to ignore it, to try to keep their, rule on things. So, yeah, they're not going to, I think that this is going to be another thing like they did last time, like I said, where it's just going to be this total ignoring of everything, and then attacking, that using the Department of Justice to attack the political opposition for daring to do anything in the Supreme Court. And again, they tried to intimidate the court last year. Now they're trying to intimidate the court this year.
That's the thing now. So he's actually
this is third world hell. That's what they want.
Did you listen to him actually give this particular speech today?
Partially, yes.
Okay, so because he does actually go into actually potentially doing just that. So let's get through this here real quick. It says the comment came as Biden was walking away from the White House lectern after delivering prepared remarks. He was asked about criticism in ruling the Congressional Black Caucus and whether he thought it was a rogue court. Biden stopped, turned, and said, "This is not a normal court." Asked about the comment later in an interview with MSNBC, the president pointed to on Thursday's ruling as one last year that struck down the right for the abortion. It said that the court seems to go out of its way to unravel rights. He said that he thought it was relatively young conservative majority may do too much harm, but he insisted he was against proposals to add additional justices to offset them. I think if we start the process of trying to expand the court, we're going to politicize it maybe forever in a way that's not healthy. And he's, boneheaded ideas that
And I
he
mean, if
actually
anybody
knows are
knew
a
what wasn't
thing.
healthy or what was not healthy, it's Joe Biden looking in the mirror. Like that's
Well,
it's.
right, but when it comes down to this particular issue,
Oh wait, no,
he
actually, he doesn't know who the hell he is.
those are his exact words from
He thinks
back
he's
in the
Clark Kent.
day about how he felt about the last person that went ahead and packed the courts. It was a boneheaded idea, and we'll never live past it. He knows packing the courts to 13 would just do exactly the same as it did as packing it to the 9. Packing the courts over and over again are never going to be good. And it's always going to be looked as being politicized because it's always a political reason on why you do such a thing. To actually get what you feel is the law of the land the way you want it. Forced abortions are a reality. I mean, up to the age of 3, apparently. Asked about the comment later in the interview at MSNBC, the president pointed to Thursday's ruling that won last year that struck down the right to abortion and said that the court seems to go out of its way to unravel rights. He said that he thought the relatively young conservative majority may do too much harm. I already read that one. I think if we start the process of trying to expand the court, we're going to politicize it maybe further in the way that is not healthy. The statement from Congressional Black Caucus Chair Stephen Horsford, the group's members did not describe the court as rogue, as it called the ruling radical because it would deny young people educational opportunity. The Supreme Court has thrown into question its own legitimacy. I don't think that it has actually thrown itself into its own legitimacy. I mean, it's obviously gonna do whatever it is that they're intended to do, and apparently they're the ones that are making the laws and the rules of the land that we're supposed to go by. Because the second they did it, obviously they pissed an awful lot of people off. Biden's remarks in the White House stressed the colleges and universities should still consider factors related to diversity despite the ruling, which funded admissions programs at the Harvard College and University of North Carolina violated the 14th Amendment by discriminating against applicants whose race is not preferred, such as the Asian students, which, it really don't, I don't get the whole Asian students thing, why there's such an issue with it. There shouldn't be an issue with it. There should never be an issue with it. And if it so happens to be that that's the biggest issue, why is it that it's always pointed at white supremacy when you actually look into most Asian beatings? Usually comes down to being some black dude that's doing it. Just saying. It's a simple fact if a student has had to overcome adversity in the path of education, the college should recognize the value that Biden said our nation's colleges and universities should be engines of expanding opportunity through upward mobility. The White House outlined a planned executive actions in response to the Supreme Court's opinion ending. Among the actions of advocating that colleges and universities continue to consider a variety of life experiences, including family financial status and prospective student personal experiences and hardship and discrimination, including racial discrimination. So I really should have never actually gone away from doing that. I mean, you've really, so racial discrimination into colleges and universities as it is. It seems like we're never going to get, walk away from just being okay with allowing everybody the ability to go to school. The alleged white supremacy comes from the framers of the USA? Of course it does. Of course it does. Let's always point at somebody else for doing something that it's most likely ourselves doing. So then it says, bitter Michelle Obama releases a statement following SCOTUS ruling for the affirmative action. So, for whatever reason, we should listen to Big Mike and take in its words. In a historic ruling, the Supreme Court on Thursday ruled that Harvard UNC race-based affirmative action programs are unconstitutional. Let's find her quote. Where is she? It's Michelle Obama.
See
It's what they put on her.
this here, because she feels like as if she has to come out and make a public statement about this, kind of makes me think: is she actually going to get into the political game? I don't know.
It really kind of opens it up a little bit more to wonder
mean,
if she's actually going to try running for the first black.
I have been
woman.
very reluctant to even go there because I don't think that she is. But the more that I look at things, the more it makes me question. And then this, and I'm like, I don't know.
Exactly. It's like
I would just keep her in the back of your mind and potentially be prepared.
We really don't want her either.
Because they're going to act like or RFK doesn't exist. They already are. So
right. Okay. So yeah, they're not going. They've already kind of pretty much tried to sideline him. It says following the ruling, bitter Michelle Obama issued a statement. Back in college, I was one of the few black students in my campus, and I was proud of getting such a respected school. I knew I'd work hard for it, but still, I sometimes wondered if people thought I got there because of affirmative action. It was a shadow that students like me couldn't shake, whether those doubts came from the outside or inside of our own minds. But the fact is this: I belonged, and the semester after semester, decade after decade, or more than a half of a century, countless students like me showed they belonged too. I wasn't just the kids of color who benefited either. Every student who heard a perspective they might not have encountered, who had an assumption challenged, who had their minds and their hearts opened, gained a lot as well. It wasn't perfect, but there's no doubt that it helped offer new ladders and opportunities for those who throughout our history have too often been denied a chance to show how fast they can climb. Of course, students of my campus and countless others across the country were and continue to be granted special consideration for admissions. Some have parents who graduated from the same school. Others have families who can afford couches to help, or coaches that can help run faster and hit a ball harder. Others go to high schools with lavish resources for tutors and extensive standardized test prep that help them score higher
that's a real
on
good
college entrance exams. I don't usually question if those students belong. So often we just accept that money, power, and privilege after perfectly justifiable forms of affirmative action, while kids growing up like I did are expected to compete when the ground is anything but level. So today, my heart breaks for any young person out there who's wondering what their future holds and what kinds of chances will be open to them. And while I know the strength and grit that lies inside kids who have always had that's not the right word, had to sweat a little more to climb the same ladders, I hope and I pray for the rest of us are willing to sweat a little too. Today is a reminder that we've got to do the work, not just to enact policies that reflect our values of equity and fairness, but to truly make those values real in all our schools, workplaces, and neighborhoods.
Oh, by the way, for some context, Big Mike Obama prays to Satan, so
Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you so much for the $5. Thank you.
You know, Koolfrogg, other
Very
than
much
the
appreciated.
oh yes, thank you. Koolfrogg, other than the couch bit there, the only thing that I would criticize about your reading of this is that you didn't say it in like a really big, booming baritone voice.
I should have just used a really huge deep voice.
used
Really got into it.
right. Exactly.
Really could have,
Like
because she really doesn't sound like that. I tried to actually make her sound, a little feminine like she's supposed to be. I didn't really want to,
freaking watched the show today.
slight Big
where it
Mike
was like-
that much.
I freaking watched the show today where they were like quoting Michelle Obama. I don't think it
picture.
was this. It's an accurate.
That's a horrible picture. What the?
But like they were like, oh yeah, so Michael Michelle Obama was like, X, Y, and Z. And I don't think they quoted this. It was something else they were talking about. And it was just like, yeah, like, so like they just went full extreme, like every quote. It was so great.
Jimmy. Now the fact that it's a man trying to sound like a woman worked well. Yeah, see, it worked out for me. See, she agrees. It was a horrible picture. It's just a trash picture. It's like, why did they put that there? Like, it's a picture that doesn't need to actually be.
Because it's the Gateway Pundit. It's not supposed to be a good picture of Big Mike. Okay, like it's not. You're supposed to see the ugly.
So the one person to not dissent on part of it, her cock's bigger than Obama's. Her, maybe. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, the first black woman to serve the Supreme Court, pulled no punches when criticizing the conservative counterparts Thursday after ruling to ban affirmative action in American universities, saying the acted with let them eat cake obliviousness. Jackson did not hide her rage that the court, which is a 6-3 conservative majority, believed the University of North Carolina's affirmative action admission policy were unconstitutional under the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause. Our country has never been so colorblind, given the lengthy history of state-sponsored race-based preferences in America, to say that anyone is now victimized. If a college considers whether the legacy of discrimination is unequally advantaged, its applicants failed to acknowledge the well-documented intergenerational transmission of inequality and will plague our citizenry.
That was accurate. That was extraordinarily accurate. Bravo. Bravo. Take it back.
No.
No.
I don't want. That's too much work. Americans traded their freedoms for the 14th Amendment. Kind of seems that way, doesn't it? Her statement, on the other hand, was very unequal in itself. She's really kind of disgusting how racist she really is, and yet likes to point fingers the way she does.
She really can't get enough of those maps, though.
Oh, she loves them.
She loves maps.
The court has ruled against Harvard.
And apparently pizza, too.
It can no longer enact stricter admission standards for Asian American students in an effort to help maintain diversity on campus. Jackson, who serves as Harvard's Board of Overseers, recused herself after that ruling. She was poignant in her dissent in Thursday's ruling, writing that no one benefits from ignorance. No one benefits from ignorance.
Says the single most ignorant person on the Supreme Court.
No one. Not a single person.
Says the person that says you have to be a biologist to even know what a woman is trying to make herself out to be the arbiter of what is ignorant and what is not. Okay.
Uh-huh. Let them eat cake obliviousness. Today, the majority pulls a ripcord and announces color blindness for all by legal fiat. But deeming race irrelevant in law does not make it so in life, and have so detached itself from the country's actual past and present experiences. The court has now been lured into interfering with crucial work that UNC and other institutions of higher learning are doing to solve America's real world problems.
By the way, does that sound like something from the Supreme Court? Does it sound like a Supreme Court justice talking about legal terms and legal things and so forth? Does that sound like, or does this sound like some raging leftard who's just like,
totally different.
that's not gonna, like, they can say whatever they want to, but like, this is still be in real life. So like, they should just keep doing it. Like, does that sound like a Supreme Court justice, or does it sound like a libtard? Does it sound like a raging, blue-haired, feminista, dyes the tips of their hair with their period blood, raging libtard freaktard? Like, does it sound like that, or does it sound like a Supreme Court justice? Because it sounds like it sounds like the prior. It sounds like a raging leftard libtard freakazoid. That's what it sounds like.
So of course, Sotomayor has to actually say something. So this is also apparently enraged was Justice Sonia Sotomayor, and only justice remaining on the court's landmark decision in 2016 that briefly upheld affirmative action's legality in American universities. In her own dissent, Sotomayor wrote, "Entrenched racial inequality remains a reality today." She also criticized the court's majority for concluding that indifferences in race is the only constitutionally permissible means to achieving racial equality in admissions. That interpretation of the 14th Amendment is not only contrary to precedent and entire teachings of our history, but it also grounded in the illusion that racial inequality that was a problem of a different generation.
By the way, Sotomayor calls that modus operandi, because she doesn't know what any legal terms mean at all. So she just like throws things around. So anyway, she has no clue what the hell's
wrong
happening.
Words for wrong terms. Awesome.
Yes. She just like, it's just
great.
What the hell? Who cares?
That's awesome.
By the way, that's an
I love
exaggeration.
it when people do that.
But like, hey, I mean, you might as well say it, because like she doesn't even she wouldn't know if you said that. If you went up to Sotomayor and if you said that, like, yes, taking your position in this law and whatever is called taking the position, and the legal phrase to take this position in this Supreme Court case is called modus operandi, and her eyes would get wide and be like, really? Is that what that's called? And she would just get full blown in it. She'd just like start preaching everywhere, like modus operandi, and she'd have no clue what the hell you just did to her. She'd have absolutely no clue. That's how stupid she is. So anyways, she's completely boneheaded, brain dead. Anyways.
She added, ignoring race will not equalize the social, racially unequal. What was true in the 1860s and again in 1954 is true today. Equality requires acknowledgement of inequality. Sotomayor and Jackson's opinions weren't enough to trump the court's 6-3 majority, which was recently appended several long-standing rulings like abortion protections, Roe v. Wade in 1973. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote the court's majority felt universities must accept the most qualified applicant without taking race into consideration, a potentially crucial blow to the diversity of higher education. I don't understand the crucial blow. It just, to me, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever to actually think that that's a bad thing, that they actually not actually using race as a consideration.
Well, see, because Koolfrogg, you're not racist like they are. Like that's the issue there. That's the difference. Like, you know, that's why you can't see this, because your mind isn't like completely through the prism of every single person's skin color and how can we manipulate them. Like you don't think that way about individuals like that. You don't think like, oh, they're black, so let me manipulate them this way. Oh, they're Hispanic. Can I manipulate them to do X, Y, and Z? Oh, they're Asian. Can I manipulate them? Like, you're not thinking about that. But the people who are writing this article and the people who support these ideas, that's the way they think. So that's why we can't.
Well, this is
Daily
Beast.
Make the crossover.
This is Daily Beast that actually wrote this particular article. So, as far as that goes, just saying. The students must be treated based on his or her experience as an individual, not as the basis of race. Many universities have too long done just the opposite, and in doing so, they have concluded wrongly that the touchstone of an individual's identity is not challenges bested, skills built, or lessons learned, but the color of their skin. Our constitutional history does not tolerate that choice. He added, those policies fly in the face of our colorblind constitution and our nation's equality ideal. So, I mean, he really seriously comes straight forward with it. And he's like, we should not ever grant anybody something because of their color of their skin. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It is the inequality admissions program that the UNC's helps to address to the benefit of us all, because the majority's judgment stunts that progress without any basis in law, history, logic, or justice. I dissent. So, there's plenty of stuff to actually go along with all that. There's one last person to actually hear from. Clarence Thomas shames Al Sharpton, rebukes Ketanji Brown Jackson in opinion and affirmative action. Oh no. Calls them both out. Clarence Thomas has shamed Al Sharpton and issued a sharp rebuke in the fellow Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson in his opinion in affirmative action. Recently appointed Justice Jackson wrote, ending affirmative action as the court ordered locks blacks into seemingly perpetual inferior caste. Such a view of is irrational. It is insult to individual achievement and cancerous to young minds seeking to push through barriers rather than consign themselves to permanent victimhood. Al Sharpton said, I think that this is a tenement to sticking a dagger in the back, because what they have said now is that it's unconstitutional to even consider race. I give the racial history of the country. Let's not act like blacks are behind because there's something in our genes that's made us behind. No, it had nothing to do with that. We were enslaved for 246 years, so it's completely throw the wind in the history as we needed affirmative action in the first place. And I think it's unimaginable not to consider race. Given the history of the country and given the data that we will still see in this country, blacks are still 10% less in terms of family wealth than whites. We are still less education. What? We are still less in education. Well, of course you are. Form a correct sentence. So either you're saying you're genetically inferior, or there's something that is unequal to society and is unequal because of law. Justice Thomas wrote that Justice Jackson, in her dissent, attempts to link the legacy of slavery and the nature of inherited wealth to the disproportionately negative socioeconomic outcomes of Black Americans. Justice Jackson's race-infused worldview falls flat in each step. Individuals are the sum of the unique experiences, challenges, and accomplishments. What matters is not the barriers they face, but how they choose to confront them. Then, she claims, locks blacks into seemingly perpetual inferior caste. Such a view is irrational, insult individual achievement, and cancerous to young minds. This is freaking repeating itself again. Seems that way, doesn't it? Did I just already read all this? You weren't listening. You heathen. Many universities have too long wrongly concluded that the touchstones of individuals. See, I read that. I read that touchstones of individuals' identity. So again,
I mean,
it
a lot of this
repeats
stuff you've
itself.
read
It
over and over and
likes to
over again in
repeat
like a
itself.
gazillion different articles. So like,
Yeah, well, that's what we
I
do.
mean, like that's probably
That's what we
why.
do. We do that, do we not?
Oh, I would just like to mention this individual here in the chat says to my comments about like the libtards people, like they think in through like a racial prism type thing, da da da. And he says, well, no, the average people don't think like that, but the system does. Well, I mean, when I was speaking, what I was actually doing was referring to people who are like this right here, like this individual who can't seem to help herself, like that kind of person, like that's what I'm referring to when I say like crazed libtard, whacktard, insane person. Like I mean that's that's the type of people that like run the Daily Feast. That's the types that do that. Okay, like it's not your average person on the street.
Suzanne, stick around. We're about ready to hit up some Canadian news. Shortly, we'll be there. We're gonna hit up some Canadian news. Not that.
Like people like this. Like
President of the United States.
those type of people is what I mean. That's what I mean. So let's. I just want to be clear. Oh my God. Anyway. Anywho, let's get to King Chucky over here.
How do you feel about this? King Charles warns only 6 years remain to stop global warming, destroying humanity.
Yeah. Well, you know what that's code for, right? That's code for, hey, you only have 6 years to go along with our globalist agenda, or the world's going to end. Like, that's literally what that means. That's what he's telling you.
Yes.
You must give King Charles all the power.
Because of his ties to the World Economic Forum, he must be telling the truth. This is Britain's King Charles III has activated the climate clock, which counts down the 6 years of allegedly remain to supposedly save the planet from being destroyed by global warming. Charles joined London's far-left Mayor Sadiq Khan to activate the timer, warning that the climate catastrophe will be triggered by 2030 unless the Paris Climate Agreement's green agenda goals, as dictated by the World Economic Forum, are met. The jet-setting mayor describes the clock as a visual reminder of the urgency of the climate crisis. According to the World Economic Forum, meeting the Green Agenda goals means global communism, massive reductions to traditional food farming, 15-minute cities, 75% reduction in private car ownership, digital IDs linked to individuals' bank accounts, huge reductions in public's quality in life, one single global digital currency, surrendering sovereign powers to an unelected globalist authority, and allowing artificial intelligence to recreate religions into one single faith and dominate humanity. Today, with His Majesty King Charles III, we launched the climate clock, a visual reminder of the urgency of the climate crisis. The climate emergency poses a threat not only to the future of our city, but to the future of our world, and that is why it must remain a key priority. The King activated the clock during the Climate Innovation Forum at the Guildhall in London on Wednesday, the Daily Mail reported. The clock warns the public that the world is just 6 years and 24 days to limit the heating of Earth to 1.5 degrees centigrade. The clock also was a built-in renewable energy lifeline, which shows the percentage of global energy coming from renewable sources currently sits at 12.5%. Go along with our demands for a green world, otherwise we will destroy it from within and we'll blame it on you. Blame it on you, say it is your fault. This tracks factors including renewable energy sources, land and inland waters managed by indigenous peoples, climate debt, monies contributed by countries, and green climate fund, and gender parity. The clock is the latest in the worldwide project seeking to scare the public into accepting that the globe must reach zero emissions. Khan's post was ratioed and widely mocked on Twitter as many users likened him to climate activist Greta Thunberg and said they doubt that action must be taken in 6 years. Remember, she said 5 years or something or whatever, like 5 years ago?
Yeah.
We must be scared. Being that they likened it to her. We now have 6 more years.
Oh.
Fucking dumb.
If you do not, the aliens will come and they will take you. You must comply. Oh.
Either we wake up or I don't give a fuck anymore. Yeah, well, we gotta convince people to wake up, and that's what we're trying to do. That's why we're here. That's why we're here. That's why you hit the like button, so that this stuff actually goes out to more and more people to get more viewers on this. Get all your friends in here. Get them and let them know where you're at.
Yes.
So we teach more and more people how to actually maybe start thinking properly.
Yes. Precisely.
Speaking about thinking properly or not wanting other people to think, breaking: Google to remove Canadian news stories after Trudeau's Online News Act would require platforms to pay for links. Bill C-18 will make it harder for Canadians to find news online, make it harder for journalists to reach their audiences, and reduce valuable free web traffic to Canadian publishers. On Thursday, Google announced in the response to the Trudeau's Liberals Online Act, Bill C-18, it would be removing links to Canadian news from a number of key places in the world's most popular search engine. When the new law comes into effect, those looking for news from Canadian news publishers will no longer be able to find such content in Google's search, news, or discover tabs. Bill C-18 has become law and remains unworkable. Google said in a statement, the government has not given us reason to believe that the regulatory process will be able to resolve structural issues with the legislation. As a result, we have informed the government that we have made a difficult decision that when the law takes effect, we will be removing links to Canadian news from our search engines and discover products and will no longer be able to operate Google News Showcase in Canada. The company went on to state that it has concerned that the law would make it harder for Canadians to find news online, make it harder for journalists to reach their audiences, and reduce valuable free web traffic to Canadian publishers. Under Bill C-18, companies like Google would be required to pay a link tax every time you link to a Canadian news publisher's website. Google said that the decision to create uncertainty for our products and exposes us as uncapped financial liability. The company slammed the Trudeau Liberals for suggesting that it pay to host Canadian news, pointing out that such stories had been linked to 3.5 billion times in 2022 alone at no cost. Referral traffic from the links are valued at around $250 million CAD. Following the bill's passing, Meta also announced that it would soon stop providing Canadian users with news content. Canadians no longer get to actually search for and find world news or even their own news freely. For them to get their news is for them to actually pay some kind of a tax, a link tax. Sounds kind of messed up and fucked up. Thank you, Trudeau, for ruining Canadians' lives. Speaking of Canadians, there's a couple around. Suzanne, I feel sorry for you. I know that you actually pay attention to the news. I'll do whatever I can to actually bring any Canadian news that I possibly can throughout each night. I'll do at least an article of some sort to go along with Canada, because I know that we do have a couple Canadian viewers. A couple other Canadian viewers will actually be joining us this Sunday for Canada Day. Be excited. That is something
Canada
that
Day fun, like a Sunday fun day, Canada Day. Go over a little bit of newsiness, and then we'll get into fun.
Should be interesting.
Fun Canadian things. Yeah.
Be excited.
Now you sound like Trudeau.
The schools will have to move away from standardized tests if they can't use racial oh, see, this is off the wrong area. It's in the wrong spot. We'll skip over that. We don't need that. We talked enough about affirmative action. I think everybody kind of understands what they actually did. And
no, we have to hear more. I want to hear Roberts' opinion one more time, just so that we all understand.
No. Come on. You know you want to. I know you do. But we need to hold you in a little bit of suspense. So, common household medical device has users fearing new risk in Biden face. Thanks, I get most of my news from India. Sounds good. I'll still do whatever I can, just because. A bleary-eyed President Joe Biden emerged in the daytime nap on Wednesday, only to make a double headlines, both in his muddled words and his alarming appearance. When asked whether Russian President Vladimir Putin had been weakened in recent events, namely a staged coup, by one of the longtime confidants that helped shore up Russian military support, root out potential defectors, and stealthily recenter his base of military power in Belarus, Biden appeared not to recall that the country was a geopolitical nemesis was the leader of. It's hard to tell, but he's clearly losing the war in Iraq. He's losing the war at home, and he's become a bit of a pariah around the world, Biden said. The 86-year-old president, believed to have undergone Botox injections, a facelift, and other cosmetic rejuvenation treatments in the past, also appeared extra wrinkly during an impromptu presser. According to CNN, the extra lines in his face were indentions from the straps of a CPAP, continuous positive airway pressure machine, which he recently began using to treat sleep apnea. And you can see the strap marks around his face. They're very, very well viewable. It seems that
Again,
there's a lot
Biden
of
doesn't
people.
know that that's there. He doesn't know that he's on a CPAP machine. Don't tell him because he doesn't know. He's not aware. He's not aware of most things.
Right. So then, when it comes down to it, to actually think about it and realize
CPAP, Joe.
that they call this CPAP lines, and whatever. When it comes down to it, there's one person in particular, beautifully inappropriate. I was talking to her earlier about some of this. She had said something about those lines aren't consistent with a normal strap for a mask for a CPAP machine. And I thought that was kind of an interesting thought. Interesting enough that I actually remembered it. It kind of really makes you wonder, is this exactly what that is? And why is it so tight around his face that it's leaving such an indentation? I think there's something else going on. And I think we should all be concerned because of the person that's not because of him, because of the person that's behind him. Despite having enjoyed a relaxing weekend in his presidential retreat, Camp David, with his son Hunter, the team of lawyers, Biden seems to have been struggling to maintain his normal sleeping routine. Since 2008, the president has disclosed his history with sleep apnea, and through medical reports, he used a CPAP machine last night, which is common for people with that history. Usually they wear them most every night. Biden's physicals have indicated he is fit to serve as president. Yeah, I bet he is. Because there's not really much that needs to be actually known to become president of the United States. You just need to be corrupt. Anyway.
By the way, that indentation will probably be in his face, even if he doesn't use his CPAP machine again for the rest of his life. That indentation will probably be in his face for the next 2 months for it to bounce back, unless he's that bad. Anyway, he'll just have 2 long indentions along the side of his face, and it won't matter if he never uses a CPAP machine again. He's that old and dilapidated. Those indentions will not come out of his face. I'm exaggerating. But
this particular instance, article, whatever, is actually brought to my attention. I'd seen this, I'd heard something about it, but it was brought to my attention today by Boomer. I do take suggestions from people if there's something that they request that they actually go through. What's up, Grimsbar? Why is it that the message before that was retracted? What did you say that you didn't mean to say? Oh, wow, look at that. If you pay the debt to society, you get let back in. What do you know? Maybe. President is figurehead for what our special interest group is in control at this time. Or at his time? Control at his time. Okay. Either way, DeSantis vetoes bill offering second chance for criminal record expungement. It says Governor Ron DeSantis on Tuesday vetoed a bill that would allow adults to get their criminal records expunged even if they had an expungement as a juvenile. Now, I'm like, why wouldn't you? I mean, is it something that you don't normally get? I don't remember ever hearing that if you had a juvenile record expunged that you couldn't get an adult record expunged. I had no clue that was ever something that was ever a thing. But according to what's going on, this is a very, very bipartisan bill that was actually vetoed on grounds of what it was. So this is undercurrent of Florida law. Someone cannot get a criminal record expunged as an adult if they had an offense scrubbed as a juvenile. The bipartisan bill, HB 605, would give someone a second chance as long as they weren't charged for the previous crime as an adult. as it was approved nearly unanimously in both the House and the Senate. DeSantis did not detail why he rejected the bill or his veto. In his veto letter, his office did not immediately return a request for comment. In 2021, DeSantis vetoed a bipartisan bill that would have expunged juvenile criminal records for people who completed a diversion program, saying he vetoed it out of concern for public safety. In 2022, DeSantis signed a tweaked version of the bill he vetoed. That bill excluded forcible felonies such as murder, manslaughter, carjacking, and more being eligible for expungement. This year's bill, HB 605, would apply only to people who were arrested but had charges dropped, who weren't charged by the prosecutors or who were found not guilty. That line in itself is kind of an interesting line, as you know, would apply only to the people that were arrested and had charges dropped. Why wouldn't that go away in the first place if the charges were dropped? It does go on to actually explain some of that. This is people who had the charges dismissed because they were found incompetent to stand trial would not be able to apply for expungement under the bill. Said he has criminal record expungement in the workforce issue, and the bill would allow people to work at the highest level they're capable of. He said he had spoken with employers who supported the bill, hoping it would ease some working shortages. These are people who have never been convicted of criminal in Florida. So it's like some people were actually brought up on charges that they were later not prosecuted on or whatever, not charged with because for whatever reason, but it was still stayed on their record, so it disallowed them to actually expunge a record later on. The bill in itself seems interesting, and why it would even need to be there is you'd almost think a lot of these rules that they're trying to throw up there for expungements wouldn't necessarily need to actually be. It shouldn't be on your record unless you're convicted in the first place. Guilty until proven innocent. And exactly that is just, it's wise, something that they didn't do staying on their record anyway. If they didn't do it, they were actually it was in any way, shape, or form removed, dropped. There shouldn't be anything that actually go with any kind of bill to actually stop that from happening. When a second is dropped, it should be removed from your record immediately, as opposed to wondering if it's ever going to be removed because you had previous something that happened from when you were a juvenile. It's kind of some bass-ackward laws that come out of Florida. Awesome. Thank you, America Shirts. Just kidding.
Well, I mean, at this point, do we really expect anything else from DeSantis at this point? I think he's kind of already shown who he is and what he's done, which isn't a whole lot. All the talk, all the hype, all the everything else of, oh, he's the best governor ever. Well, there's not a lot to show for that. Not really. At this point, like, we've waited long enough for all of his stuff to come about, and hardly any of it's come about.
Yeah, we need to.
If at all, so,
So, I didn't get it downloaded. I may actually just keep this and actually see if I can't get it downloaded. But
I mean, I think some of your former Senate colleagues on the Judiciary Committee would go as far as to say that it's anti-democratic. You agree with that?
Well, if I say it's anti-democratic, then it gets
in a lot of trouble.
No, but it is. Its value system is different, and its respect for institutions is different, and in that sense, it is not as embracing of all what I think the Constitution says. We hold these truths to be self. All men and women are created equal, endowed by their Creator. It's the uniqueness of America. You never.
But folks, know the thing.
The sad thing is he says what? Oh, he says the line off of the Constitution says that we hold these truths to self, that man are created equal, endowed by their Creator. Nope, wrong. It is not the Constitution that actually says that. That is the Declaration of Independence.
Indeed.
He goes ahead and he fucks up so damn often, and we just kind of look the other way. Like it never happened. It didn't matter. What's up, Rogue Thought? Good to see you.
Yellow.
But I felt it necessary. That would be a nice little break before we actually go into actual news.
Wait, where's him walking off?
What?
Where's him walking off? Do we have the part where he just like gets up and walks away?
Does he? Why would he do that? What?
Yeah, like
He's gonna
after they
walk
go to
away
like
from
the
it.
commercial.
And this court seems to say that that's
no.
not always the case.
It's just the gaffe that comes out of him that he actually reads what he says the Constitution off the top of the Declaration of Independence. It's just a gaffe. There's no walk off. Was there a walk off? Did I miss a walk off that I
From this exact interview? When they get done and they're going to commercial, he literally gets up and walks behind her and walks clear around. And it's like as soon as they're done talking, he just gets up and starts going. Like it's so bad.
Remember the 303 days? It actually has that in there of him actually screwing up the Declaration. Oh, you know the thing.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by go. You know the thing.
They put that in the end, but yeah, they. If you got the walk off, go ahead, bring it up. Let's go. Before we move on to some other news. I'm going to actually try coming up with some kind of like a screen that I can actually click on that would actually be like other news, and it would actually give breaks in the screen as opposed to just me going over and hit add stream marker. Speculation is that his Depends failed. Maybe. We're just kind of waiting for America's Church to see if he can actually find this walk off. I mean, we can kind of move on. As this is other news. Other news. When it comes down to it, there's a lot of interesting things that have actually happened within the last day. When it comes down to other news. Now, I've actually been speaking about this one for a while. It's been something that I've always felt a lot of people didn't quite understand or keep up with.
I found
what?
I found it.
All right, let's go.
I found it. Watch. Do I have this? There we go. Joe Biden awkwardly stands up and walks off the set of his MSNBC interview instead of waiting for the segment to go to commercial. Here we go.
Well, and the ones that didn't vote for your bills but run on them.
That's right.
Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Nicole, I
much.
appreciate
It's great to have
it.
you. It's
Thank
good
you.
to have you. Thank you. Don't go anywhere. It's a very exciting day around here. We'll have reaction and analysis to everything we just heard.
She should have said that don't go anywhere before he stood up. And
Literally.
Don't go anywhere.
Don't go anywhere. Just don't we're not you're supposed to keep
That's
too.
right.
Seated.
Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Nicole. I
much. It's
appreciate
great to have
really.
you.
We're
Thank
supposed to
you.
keep
Thank you.
seated till, like, you know,
Don't go
he
anywhere.
walks
It's a very
clear
exciting day
behind
around
her.
here. We'll have reaction and analysis to everything we just
He
heard.
just wanders off. They have this whole fanfare of like, oh, it's the president. Look, exclusive with president. And they have the presidential seal. And oh, it's so big and powerful. And, oh,
And the ones
it's
that didn't vote,
such a
thank you.
serious moment. It's just,
Don't
oh
go
my
anywhere.
God.
It's a very exciting day.
It's the president. It's the, oh. Oh.
Don't go anywhere. As you walk
Oops.
off the screen. Freaking idiot. It's so funny.
I mean, he could have walked in the other direction. No, he walks behind her.
Suzanne, I just sent it to you in Discord news. Got to it about the same time. All right. So
bad.
Other
bad.
news. Like I said, I'm going to get something that's going to actually be able to be clicked on or whatever, where I can actually just put something up that would actually skip me from politics to other news.
We're done.
Now,
Okay, we're done.
this particular drug, per se, is something that I've actually been talking about for quite some time. It's one of them that I'll actually, one of those hills that I will actually die on, that is one of the worst things in the world. It had been one of the worst things in the world. This is not something new. This is something that everybody should have already known. But for whatever reason, as of today, you can see there, June 29th up in the corner. You see that right there, June 29th, today. An artificial sweetener found in popular sodas could cause cancer. One of the most common artificial sweeteners in soft drinks, aspartame, is reportedly set to be declared as carcinogenic by the World Health Organization in July.
You can see the World Health Organization is done with this poison. They're moving on to others. So we'll make it since they're getting
better
heat.
plans for you, definitely.
Right, exactly. So since they're getting a lot of heat, they're going to be like, well, okay, that's a carcinogenic thing that causes cancer, but everything else is just fine. So like, hey, you should love us, right? We're the good guys, So, anyways, we all know who this is, right?
Most commonly found place for this particular artificial sweetener, diet soda.
Of course.
Aspartame will be deemed.
That's why Trump has never seen a person that drinks diet soda that's ever been skinny. They've always been fat people drinking Diet Coke. Never seen a skinny person drinking Diet Coke since Trump from like 2012 or something like that. It was great. Anyway,
you really don't. When you actually you think about it. Most of them that do are the ones that are. I'm on a diet. Give me a diet soda.
Yeah, those are the people with like wings for arms because they're so flabby. Cellulite keeps it down so it's like a little bit of weight so they can like flap and get up in the air a little bit like a chicken.
All right. To continue, aspartame will be deemed possibly carcinogenic in humans.
Think of that
by
when you think of
International
aspartame.
Agency of Research in Cancer. The WHO's Cancer Research branch to artificial sweeteners used in products like Coca-Cola's diet sodas, Mars Extra chewing gum, and some Snapple drinks. The purpose of the IRAC ruling is to determine whether or not a product is hazardous. It does not account for how much the product is safe for consumption. The WHO's Committee of Additives, the Joint WHO Food and Agriculture Organization's expert committee on food additives, is also reviewing aspartame use. The findings of both groups will be made public on July 14th, the same day that the IRC's intend to announce a decision on artificial sweetener. We kindly ask both bodies to coordinate their efforts in reviewing aspartame to avoid any confusion or concerns among the public, said this particular person, a Japanese Ministry of Health and Labor and a welfare representative for the WHO. Yeah, wonderful. So glad that somebody from WHO could actually come through. And
right, like everybody else in the chats, like I knew this. We've known this since the 1800s.
Right, we've known this for a long time. We've known this for a long, long time. And I've actually been one of those that I've been a very big advocate of being against the aspartame, where I've actually called
Oh, wait.
certain people out for the use of aspartame and actually tried to convince them to stop using the aspartame because of its abilities to do just this. So aspartame was considered safe in human consumption in 1981 until fairly recently, according to Daily Mail. An artificial sweetener 200 times sweeter than sugar, commonly found in products that are marked diet or sugar-free. There have been claims that aspartame causes cancer for several years. However, the product has not yet officially been declared carcinogenic. The FDA previously concluded that the use of aspartame as a general purpose sweetener is safe. The FBI tested and proved the safety of aspartame during this time. The decision to declare aspartame a carcinogen may motivate more research on the ingredient, but it could also inflame debate on the role of global health entities in regulating health concerns. Kind of interesting that they actually kind of spin the WHO into it at the same time to actually kind of make you understand a comment that comes from the FDA. The comment that comes from the FDA, the use of aspartame as a general purpose sweetener is safe. That was a previous conclusion. And now they're finally saying, nope, it's actually a bad thing for you.
Well, if they're done poisoning you with this, maybe, I mean, like, allegedly, haha. So like, I mean, they're kind of, they might be moving on, or they might just be like BSing you just to be like, oh, look, we're the good guys. But either way, they don't give a crap, and they would like nothing more than for you to have carcinogens flowing throughout your body every day. So, right here. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled.
Again. So then, Slay. Women loses leg after getting it trapped in airport's moving walkway. She just loses her leg. Nothing to see here. Just kidding. A woman lost her leg after becoming stuck in the moving walkway in a Bangkok airport on Thursday. Doctors were forced to remove the leg after being unable to free it from the trelevator. They remain hopeful that they can reattach the limb, however. The passenger, 57, was set to board the flight at Bangkok's Don Mueang Airport, where she tripped over her suitcase and got her leg caught in the walkway in the hub's Terminal 2. The on-site medical team tried to free her, but could not, and eventually amputated her left leg before above the knee. On behalf of Don Mueang International Airport, I'd like to express our deepest condolences regarding the accident. I'd like to insist that we will ensure that no such accidents will happen again. It will never happen ever again. She tripped, fell over her own luggage, got her legs stuck in the moving elevator, whatever thing, moving sidewalk is the way I take it, and got her leg caught, which caused them to have to amputate it.
I don't even know how that happens. Like, how in the world?
The whole thought, the whole, trying to even draw that picture in your head of how that would even happen. It just really seriously gets very exaggerated to the point where you're just like, that. Nope, that's not possible. Nope, they couldn't have done it that way.
I mean, can't people just walk? Like, can't people, like, is it that hard to, like, walk anymore? Like, I don't get it. I mean,
those
everywhere
feel
anymore.
Dangerous. I seriously don't think, usually if there's a flight of stairs that's nearby a set of escalators like right next to it, I'll take the stairs. I mean, it worked out in the Mall of America, so escalators were a normal everyday thing or whatever, but it really would take the stairs if they were near closer by. And because I knew where they were, I was able to make it around the mall. That normally takes about 45 minutes to walk around it in circle in about 20 minutes and back, because I knew how to actually get from one side of the mall to the other and where I was going. There's plenty of secret passages. It's fun. Either way, kind of scary. Lady gets to lose her leg. Let's hop on to this next thing here. 11-year-old boy and girl hospitalized after pit bull attack in Pennsylvania.
Because all pit bulls are the best things ever. Everybody needs 18 pit bulls.
Yeah,
Go get
well,
them.
and I'm not really one to actually be like, oh, it's the pit bull. Oh, it's the pit bull. It's how who raised the pit bull, who trained the pit bull, and who actually wasn't paying attention to their pit bull.
I mean, from my perspective, it's like, okay, I mean, you could raise a bobcat to be friendly, but like that takes a specific, like training to like tame a bobcat. Like it's still a bobcat. It's like, I mean, it's still a puma. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, pit bulls were bred and designed to attack and maul and go crazy. Hence the name pit, like in the pit, like dog fighting. Like that's
Right.
what they're meant for to do. They were bred specifically to do that. And so their whole makeup is to fight and go back crap. If you can somehow manage to tame that, congratulations, you've won the lottery. Otherwise, like, I mean, like people just walk these dogs around like they're nonchalant, like who cares, whatever. It's like, I mean, you ought to have some. I mean, it's like walking around a zoo animal at this point. It's like, why?
Right.
Like
Well,
you,
kind
I
of.
mean, if you want to
right?
have this, like have space enough for it to be by itself, have space enough for things to happen. I mean, people have these stories that are so fake of like like these pit bulls are like nanny dogs and crap like this. That's never been true throughout all of history. Pit bulls have been said to either be, again, fighting in pits for dog fights, or like a grown man is supposed to take care of this dog in an open space where it's not around a lot of other people. Because it's a fighting dog. Now you can train it, but it's still a fighting dog, So I mean, like military can, like if you want to specifically train a dog, whatever, like you could train a pit bull, and there's been pictures and films and things like that, whatever, with this stuff in it. But it's not like, oh, it's the friendliest dog in the world, because it's not. Like this is a hardcore doge.
What's paint the picture on this particular doge and what he had actually done to these two children here real quick. So this is one of the victims' father, the girl's dad, and her friend says that her and her friend somehow encountered a dog and the dog attacked the daughter. Her leg looks like someone took a knife and just slashed fillet out of her leg. It's horrendous. So they actually just cut a big chunk out of it. Puncture wounds. I mean, the dog just continued to chew on her. They're up here at Children's Hospital because of that dog. Very traumatic. Everybody is crying in that room. It's such a terrible thing. Fisher told the outlet that his daughter said she was out and the dog came after her. He said that Owen tried to help by distracting the dog, but the dog turned on him. He said the boy went over and tried to push him away, and the dog just went after him and bit both of his arms. I want it destroyed, and the neighbors need to be accountable. Of course you do. Of course you want the dog destroyed, and you want whoever owns the dog to be held accountable for anything and everything that happens to these children for the rest of their lives, because they're going to be now traumatized because somebody allowed their dog to go run down the street. Now, again, I'm not a proponent that says that, all pit bulls are bad. Now, I believe it's the owner and how you take care of it. Because,
but like
you take care of
one
it and train it
foul
properly.
move with a pit
I
bull,
get it.
and the dog can
But
like
they're not
rip
the
your arm
only
off.
ones that are that dangerous. There are other dogs that are also that dangerous. It's just that pit bulls get that synonymous name of being just that. What's up, Bernie Mac? Good to see you.
I mean,
Do
like
you
their
understand?
mouth,
Because
their mouth and their build is meant to tear apart. Like it's
exactly,
different. Even I
exactly.
mean, even a German Shepherd
It is
is
a
different.
dangerous animal, no matter what. You can go with the most temperamental of all of them and go with a Dalmatian. You're going to get the same type of issues.
But it's not
These
going to be
do-
the same type of
all
damage. Like
all
these
these
things.
dogs really seriously can do just as much damage depending on how they're treated. I seriously, I helped a little girl get free from a dog that was not supposed to be. It was a Springer Spaniel. The Springer Spaniel destroyed her arm, and I helped free her. It doesn't matter what kind of dog it is, it's how it's trained. It's who its trainers are. And when you have, like you said, a destroying machine like a pit bull, and it's not trained properly, it's trained to do just this, it did do exactly what it did. It destroyed what it wanted, the little girl, and then it attacked the boy that was trying to save her. And it was maybe a good thing that the boy tried to save her and actually took a little bit of brunt on that, because it gave her a chance to actually maybe get away from the incident. The owners said that they adopted Sarge about 2 months ago, and they were not made aware of any aggression issues before adopting him. They declined to comment anymore on the incident. Police have not released the detail. Of course, they had to stop. They had to stop saying what they were saying, because they didn't know the actual issues of this particular dog before they went and they adopted it. They just went and they adopted it thinking that all was okay, let it outside to go to the bathroom, bam, hits a couple kids. Now it's going to get put down, and you're going to get charged with whatever, doctor's bills come out of this. That's a rough adoption, proceeding that you have there, because are they also going to go after the whatever place that you adopted it from, the pet farm? I don't know where you got it from. According to dog bite law, Pennsylvania state law makes owners of the dogs who attack responsible for paying for the victim's medical bills. However, they're only fully liable if they are proven to be negligent or knew their dog was dangerous. And again, America's Church is totally correct. Lethal machine that these dogs are. They're very dangerous. They're very, very dangerous and need to be taken care of properly.
Right. Like, I mean, you can't just like, oh, look, everybody gets a pit bull and let's just throw them out in the streets like nothing. And as long as you pat its head and tell it good boy, like it's not going to do. I mean, it's a freaking pit bull. Like, for God's sake. I mean, dear Lord, like, I mean, a Labrador is, I mean, it doesn't, freaking dog breeds are different. Like, if you're going to get a dog breed, like, you better know how to freaking train this thing. Like, I'll give you another example of a dog breed that's pretty dangerous to have just around other people, depending on the circumstance. It's a little bit different. Like, what is it called? The Doggo Argentino is a very hostile dog, but it's not as hostile if there's not other like male dogs around. But if there is, then like it goes whack. And these dogs are big, and these dogs are meant to be defensive dogs. So like you just can't be throwing animals around and just say like anybody anywhere could just have whatever the hell they want. Like no. Like, I'm sorry, like everybody and their grandma can't have a pit bull, because then everybody's got one and they're all just running around like mauling children. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, you don't have stories of like Chihuahuas, like, oh no, Chihuahua bites off arm of, a 13-year-old. Like, that's not, that doesn't happen. Right. Like, even a Labrador, like its mouth is different. Like everything's different. Like, it's not the same thing. Its aggressiveness is like, you could train a Labrador a lot better and a lot easier than you could a pit bull, again, depending, there are unique circumstances, but, generally speaking, if you just like, oh, look, I have a pet doggy, and you just decide to raise a freaking pit bull and you just like pat it on its head, like you're not gonna change the dog breed. Like you're not gonna
Cohagen says,
train
does
it.
he understand this is the same argument against ARs? That was for you.
I mean, an animal is different from an inanimate object. An inanimate object does not have a nature. It has to be picked up and wielded and used.
I see. I'd guess not, but
Because it's not.
He kind of right. It's not really the same argument. Your dog shouldn't be trained for that style of protection. In my
you
opinion,
don't train your gun like
Right.
you train
people
yourself.
can't stop trying to take
use
away
it. Like,
people's
it's
rights.
not
They
even this
have the
kind of-
dog. They want shirts. Says Winning Reality. What is up, Winning? Good to see you, brother. Hit that like button for me. Let's move on here. So it says 9-month pregnant woman turns tables on armed thief, shoots him, and holds him until cops arrive. You can see she's very, very pregnant. This is a man. Was shot by a 9-month pregnant woman and her husband after he tried to rob them and threatened to kill them in Houston. The woman said that she parked in front of All Seasons food store where her husband works to deliver food for him. 2 armed men were inside a silver SUV parked nearby waiting for an opportunity. I got in my car, and immediately the guy in the passenger seat of the silver car got out with an AR, and I told him that I startled him. You know, he said it was more in a vocal way. No, they were not taking out my baby daddy before July 11th, this woman added. The woman called her husband, who came outside. The husband said the man, 39-year-old Mario DeQ, who has been arrested, repeatedly asked him, "Do you want to die tonight?" I thank God we had our guns. I've never been happier to be a gun carrier, the woman said. And this is where this is actually coming down to, is this right here. The lawful citizen carrying their weapons to protect themselves from people like that have such things as ARs. After shooting him, a couple held DQ at gunpoint until medical attention arrived. A bystander told him, "Hey man, if you think you're dying, you might as well pray to God for forgiveness," the husband said. DQ was convicted. Is a convicted felon. He remains hospitalized. He's charged with aggravated assault and deadly weapon and unlawful carrying of a weapon. Isn't that something? For once, something works out the way it's intended to work out. And the lady that just so happens to actually be carrying her gun held off her and maybe her husband being brutally attacked by somebody with an AR. You notice it was the felon that was carrying the AR. It was the felon that, it just, the whole story in itself it seems very strange, as the unlawful citizen that should not have had possession of a weapon just so happened to be the one with the AR. Now, I'm not against them ARs. I'm really not. I think ARs are just fine and should be able to be used by whoever decides to want to use them and however they would like to use them. Have fun. To me, it's just another rifle. It really seriously isn't anything special. But obviously kind of fun. But it just seems odd and strange that they were able to actually hold this particular person off from actually doing whatever he was supposed to do with her own gun.
Not
Apparently,
sure.
gotta head to bed. Good night, Jimmy. You have a good one. Everybody, check out Jimmy YouTube. Click Draw Jimmy tomorrow night here on Stick with Koolfrogg for the open mic comedy hour. He is slated to actually be one of those to give us a few minutes worth of comedy. Should be a good time. Later, Jimmy YouTube. I don't think we really need to actually go through the rest of this article, do we? We kind of get the point. Or we did go through the whole thing, didn't we?
Yeah.
Virgin Galactic launches 4 paying passengers into space.
Oh my Landa. Or oh my space, because you're not on land. Ha 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 ha.
Is you gonna come to Comedy Hour and get picked on? No. Richard Branson is the latest billionaire to appear in the space tourism scene. Following Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos' footsteps, Branson's Virgin Galactic sank 4 people some 250,000 feet above the Earth on Thursday. Per Daily Mail, the Galactic 01 is set to be crewed by an Italian Air Force. California-based Virgin Galactic has taken a different approach than Musk and Bezos in this method, choosing to use a plane that is attached to a larger carrier that releases it at a certain altitude. Branson experienced a horrific space launch in 2014 when his company's Spaceship Two crashed in California's Mojave Desert,
Oops.
killing the co-pilot and injuring the pilot. So,
Oh my God! Look at their logo. Look at their freaking Twitter avatar. Oh my God!
Well, let them be as gay as they want.
Oh
Branson's
my
man
God.
test suddenly failed that the craft split into pieces after investigators looked into the case or the cause of the crash. They determined that Ellsbury was unlocked a braking system too early, which led to structural failure. However, Branson became the first billionaire in space when he took the VSS Unity on July 11th, 2021. It was not long after that Bezos aboard the New Shepard launched into space later that same month. So, when it comes down to it, they're going to take another launch. They're going to take another run at it. They're going to launch 4 people, paying passengers into space to take a trip. Sounds like fun. It really does. If I was only a billionaire. They're all picking ways that they would prefer to unalive themselves. Is that what they're doing?
I don't know. Interesting question.
It's just an interesting thought to go along with it. Man convicted of driving into fundraiser crowd, then killing mother gets 2 life terms. So this young fellow here. Yes, this
He looks like a
specimen of man. This is a man convicted of driving into a fundraiser crowd in Pennsylvania last summer, killing 1 and injuring 19 others, then going home and bludgeoning his mother to death, has been sentenced to life in prison without possibility of parole. Do you remember this guy? Do you remember covering this guy? I think we covered it.
Well,
We actually covered this guy on a Shtick with Koolfrogg.
I don't recall.
Says President Judge Gary Norton told Adrian Oswaldo Sir Reyes, 25, Adrian Reyes, 25, Columbia County Court on Tuesday that his crimes were the result of pure evil, and he has sentenced him to 2 life terms. In the 2 deaths, he has imposed an additional 123 to 380 years in 19 counts of attempted homicide. Authorities said Sir Reyes told investigators that he was driving in Barwick after arguing with his mother August 13th, was tired of fighting with his mother, including about money, and wanted to be done with it. At the same time, about 75 people had gathered in a blocked-off parking lot outside of an toxicology department bar for a fundraiser to benefit victims of a blaze in Nescopac more than a week earlier that had killed 7 adults and 3 children. Police said Sir Reyes told them he drove past the gathering, then turned around and headed back to the bar to drive through the crowd of people. Rebecca Reese, 50, of Wilkes-Barre, was killed and 19 others were injured, 4 critically. Police said Sir Reyes told them he was returned to his Nescopac home and saw his mother, 56-year-old Rosa Reyes, in the street, and he hit her with the vehicle and then struck her with a hammer several times. Bloomberg's press enterprise reported that more than a dozen victims and supporters attended the sentencing, some weeping as they listened to the testimony about that day, while others, still too hurt to attend, watched online, according to the district attorney's office. Sir Reyes declined to speak in court about told reporters outside that he was sorry. Defense attorneys Janine Tello and his client were remorseful for his actions, were not necessarily an evil criminal act, but more the result of mental health crises. That right there.
I'm sure.
Mental health crises. Over and over again, there's so many that are so mentally disturbed or ill and unwilling or unable to actually go get themselves looked at or checked out for what their mental incapacities are, turn to what they call not necessarily an evil criminal act, as he strikes her with a hammer several times. Very disturbing, and I'm glad that he actually got the life sentences that he deserves. Other than the fact that we're now paying for him, more and more states need to have a death penalty for these particular reasons. Hopefully today can be the day before healing perhaps begins for some of the victims. Reese's son, Devin Reese, 28, is attending the sentencing with his sisters, said the family was grateful. He was going to be inside prison for the rest of his life. I feel justice has been served. I kind of disagree. I think that he deserves, maybe a bludgeoning with a hammer or something. Prosecutors originally pursued the death penalty in the case, but dropped the plans, and the Sir Reyes agreed to plead guilty to all charges in June. The judge also fined Sir Reyes $1.05 million and ordered him to pay $411,000 in restitution, although prosecutors acknowledged that that was unlikely that the defendants would ever be able to pay that amount. He's life in prison. He's not ever going to be able to come up with that money to pay those fines or judgments of restitution towards anybody or anything. So, as far as that goes, he's done, he's finished, he's finito. And maybe good riddance is something that we should say. I don't know. All right, hold on to your horses. Are you ready? Are you ready for this? I don't think you're ready for this. Are you? American shirts?
Oh no.
Okay, you be ready. Be ready. Here he is.
Oh God. Yes, I saw
Breaks
this earlier.
silence, adds insult to injury, and trashes Bud Light.
Oh my God.
This
Notice the
influencer.
freakazoid here has to change his entire look. He used to be like the, dark haired individual who, like, had his hair up to look like a woman and all the rest of it. Now he looks completely different because, see, he has been made a mockery of and shamed of. Oh, and James O'Keefe ran after him one time. So now he has to change his whole attire. Has to change his whole look now. And attack Bud Light
Oh,
now
let's
because,
see how much he'll actually change this time. So it says, this influencer broke his silence and slammed Bud Light for hiring him and their disastrous campaign and failing to publicly stand by him after the backlash. He said, I was waiting for the brand to reach out to me, but they never did. As I've been scared to leave my house for a company to hire a trans person that not publicly stands by them is worse than not hiring a trans person at all because it gives customers permission to be transphobic as hateful as they want. There should be nothing controversial or divisive about working with us. I've been ridiculed in public. I've been allowed. And all I felt is a loneliness that I wouldn't wish on anyone. I realized that I needed to protect this can, so I hid it somewhere, and I can't find it because I hid it so well. But when I do find it, I feel like it needs to go in a museum, preferably behind a bulletproof glass. One thing I will not tolerate people saying about me is that I don't like beer because I love beer. I always have. The CEO of Anheuser-Busch, Brandon Woodward, said recently, I think it's the impact, honestly, of an employee that weighs most on me. Again, as I mentioned, seeing the pride and commitment that they have working on behalf of a 165 plus year old American institution is what gives us energy as we look to move forward and focus on what we do best. So now us and they're like, oh, okay, you threw us under the bus, so now we're done with you, and we're going to actually turn around and we're actually going to go back to being the same 165-year-old plus institution that we always had been. I doubt it. Nice way to try getting back into our back pockets. Anheuser-Busch. It didn't work. I think everybody that's out there that doesn't understand what Anheuser-Busch all owns should actually go into and actually look at what they do own while you decide what you're going to drink next.
Let them all eat their own. Let them eat each other alive. It's beautiful.
So,
Oh yes. Here's this. Saw this
there's
today too.
okay. I was going to say, did you see this today? So, okay, this is kind of an interesting ordeal, and I know that America's Shirts had actually tried pushing for us to actually watch a particular movie within the last few days. He was unable to actually spread his word yesterday on that particular issue. I would actually play this video for you, as well as allow you to have the floor and you throw the spiel on that if that's what you're actually thinking of doing again. Is it something that you're interested in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So you want the video first?
Yeah, and then yeah.
Okay.
We'll do that. We don't have any audio because it's not shared right. I don't think. Koolfrogg.
What?
I'm not hearing anything.
Oh.
Oh yeah, because it's on the. It's not. You're not sharing the actual like tab. You're sharing your window.
Yeah. No, I got it. I got it.
One of the most disturbing problems in our world today is human trafficking, and particularly the trafficking of children. Our future is our children. Now, the first step in eradicating this crime is awareness. Go see Sound of Freedom.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if Mel Gibson tells you to go watch a movie, you probably should. I'm just saying. Freaking Mel Gibson comes out and is like, yeah, you need to watch this. You need to become aware. You probably should.
I mean, do we listen to all people that come out and say that we should do things?
No, just Mel Gibson.
Okay, just Mel Gibson. Just wanted
But
to be
hey,
clear on that. Just
yeah.
wanted to be clear on that. But Mel Gibson, a good person as he is, is looking to actually bring us information and actually push for this particular video. And I believe you pushed for this video the other day. You actually really went into actually saying, hey, we should go watch this movie. Was there, and so it's about the trafficking, and I don't know how much of the trafficking we can actually get into here on YouTube, how much YouTube will actually allow us to actually speak of such a thing. Would you be more comfortable if I went and I shut off the YouTube side and allowed you just to rant over on the Rumble side for a short minute? Did you want to not push for this movie again, or you?
Does everybody want to do that? Are we willing to do that here?
I think if you're interested in doing it, you want to take the 15, 20 minutes to go into it in depth. I'll give you the floor over on the Rumble side, and then you can kind of actually talk about the stuff that you want to talk about.
I mean, I don't think I'm going to go into everything. I want to try to do that on my Rumble channel. I mean, maybe we could
give
do it
you
a little
a rough go at it or whatever. You kind of give you a couple of those that'll help you actually set some of your talking points, and you don't have to say them all. You don't have to say them all at all, but you can get a couple of them out and let these people, let them be aware of what this is actually about, what this film is, and why you'd have the likenesses of even Mel Gibson actually coming out and actually being so forward with actually saying you should go watch this movie. It really opens and turns on the lights to human trafficking.
Well, I think maybe I'll just explain things here as much as possible again. But just because for the sake of the movie, and I want everybody that's already watching and listening here to just go ahead and do that and just listen to what's going on here. Maybe tomorrow or not tomorrow, like some other. Well, but we don't because tomorrow is the comedy thing.
Yep, tomorrow's comedy show, and then we don't run Saturday, so if you really last chance to actually get that word out in one of these segments. That's if you want to get it out, get it out.
Well, is everybody okay with flying over to Rumble?
I'm done. I'm done. Let's go. Let's do it.
Well,
or you want to go to Rumble? You want to go to Rumble? He wants to go to Rumble. Let's do that. Let's just do that. So everybody that's over here on the YouTube side, thank you so very, very, very much for being here. Thank you for the donations, and thank you for the generosity of who you are. If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit Rumble links. I'll throw a Rumble link right now to this particular episode right here in this chat. You go ahead and you go and you click on that. You bring yourself over to the Rumble side, and we'll actually go through just a very short bit on this particular movie in itself. thank you all so very much for being here. We appreciate you. Make sure that you check out americashirtsarebfirst.com.
Indeed, go check out the most based t-shirts on the ever-loving planet. And I mean, listen, folks, like, I don't know why you don't have an America shirt, why anybody wouldn't have an America shirt, because they're only the most based t-shirts. Like, why don't you have one? I'm not sure why people don't have America shirts. They're all right there on the website. There's like, what is it, like 20 some designs now? Go there, check them out. If you don't, then like, I don't know what you're missing out on. We have several viewers. They've raved about the shirts. You're like, you're missing out on a whole experience here. So, you know, go check out the website, go check out the shirts, americashirtsarebfirst.com. Only the most based t-shirts on the planet. And I do have a Rumble channel, and I will be doing, I wanted to do this Wednesday. I didn't have time to.
He's gonna go
Saturday,
more
maybe
in depth into this particular topic that we're gonna go talk about right now.
Yeah, like
That's
Friday or
reasonable.
Saturday. Then I guess I want to go into a little bit more detail about this and present it a little
that
more
Rumble
fully.
link. Hit that. We're
yeah.
losing everybody as we go. So, thank you all so very much for being here. We're gonna do that, and